On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for MattieC Sports for you and me.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to MattieC Sports for you and me. As always, it's me, MattieC, and I have a special guest here today that kind of hits me in the heart because it has a similarity to me, Miss Tayla Shoultz, and she is a very nice woman for what she is doing for LGS and for being a mother to Brian Shoultz, who is someone who has LGS just like my brother. How are you doing on this lovely evening?
I'm doing well. Brian and I are just here hanging out. Thought we'd come chat with you for a little bit and spread the word about how awesome these kiddos with LGS are. Absolutely,
and I love it. So I was under the impression he was in a home or residential facility. Now, was that somewhere where you previously worked?
Yeah, so I met Brian when I was teaching. I was teaching at a residential facility and he moved in and started calling me mommy his second day of school. And after months of trying to convince him, like, I'm not your mother, I finally threw in the towel and said, fine, I'll be your mom. So then Brian I was his foster mom for almost 2.5 years. And then I adopted him in January. So for 6 months, I've been mom, just mom.
That's amazing. And I can appreciate all of that, what you do. And, I know people who not have the same as my brother and Brian, but have the same residential thing where, the parents come by and, come once a couple of months or whatever, they bring them home here and there. And for somebody like yourself to how busy you are and to have him in your life and stuff like that, I know it's a blessing. And I know how hard it can be because I've seen it for pretty much 30 years. I've seen the ups and downs and, it's a very tough thing to deal with, but also a blessing in disguise. So, I mean, it seems like you guys are just like attached to the hip, like best friends.
Yeah, we are. Look, he's right here. Say hey.
Hey, bud. How are you?
Tony.
Good to see you.
Tony. Yeah. So every man with a beard is named Tony in his mind.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I don't know if he knew some guy named Tony at some point, but literally every guy, he's like, "Hey, Tony, hi, Tony."
Awesome.
So Brian, it's so funny. He's a social butterfly. Because he was in foster care and didn't have a very good childhood, hence why he ended up in foster care. He wasn't exposed to a lot of different people or different environments. In the first probably 4 months we started going places, he would just stare and drool and like not say a word. And now I'm like, shh. I can't get the kid to be quiet. We went and ate at a local restaurant and everyone walking the door would be like, hey, everybody, you want chips and salsa? I like chips and salsa. Every single person that walked in the door, he's my little social butterfly. He just loves people.
That's awesome. I agree with you. And, my brother is a little bit more on the severe level of LGS with probably has the mind of, I don't like to compare it like that, but probably an 8-year-old. And, I read on your article that he likes the cuss words, and I dealt with it firsthand that like, that's like when they're upset like that, they'll start to do that. And, like the whole thing with the LGS is that like, it's so crazy that, like what they go through, what every kid in LGS goes through. And, it's a very, how should I say it? Like syndrome that doesn't get its awareness like it does, such as epilepsy. You know,
Right.
epilepsy is more widespread, and in LGS is kind of stepping up in the game a little bit. But in the sense of something like that, how is it that Brian got so attached to racing and in sports like that?
So before I agreed to be Brian's mom, we started doing like day passes and stuff, because the two things that are really important in my life is racing. So I work for a 410 sprint car traveling series. So I travel the state of Indiana scoring at races. So, and that's, you know, it's a part-time job, just, you know, 3 or 4 weekends a month, but it's something I really enjoy. So I was like, okay, number one, he has to like racing. And the other thing was I have 2 dogs, and then my part-time job, which is now my only job next to being Brian's mom, is I manage a dog boarding and grooming facility. So I said, okay, this kid has to like dogs. I have 2 dogs in the house. Like, okay, we have to like racing, and we have to like dogs. Anything else we can work with. And he instantly fell in love. He loved the cars. He loved the noise. He liked to play in the dirt. And so just from us going to the races, you know, week after week, and whenever I don't have to work, we find a local track to go and, you know, hang out and watch, because he enjoys it so much. And, you know, we've gotten to know several of the drivers. We became, you know, good friends that we see, you know, once or twice a month. You know, they all know Brian by name. The guys are like giving him free t-shirts and, you know, come hang out with me, leave mom, she's not cool, come with me, take him for rides on 4-wheelers. You know, just the guys that, you know, that we race with or that we go and watch, like, you know, they're really good, outstanding guys. So, and Brian, as you can see, he's wearing, who's on your shirt? Who is this? Who is that?
Connie.
No, whose shirt is that?
Brian.
It's Robert Ballou.
Brian.
And you're Brian, yes.
Robert Ballou. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, he's from California, but he races everywhere. He just raced, they did a big Pennsylvania week, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. He won 3 nights. I don't know. He did, you know, really good. But he's one of the, you know, top drivers in the United States. And they're great guys. And they all love Brian because Brian thinks they're all the best.
That's amazing. I really think that's so cool that they're just so welcoming in the race community, it seems, in Indiana.
Yeah, the racing community is amazing and so welcoming of anyone that's different. You know, you can know every stat and fact there is about their car and, you know, been following them for years, or you can never been to a race, and they'll take time and they'll talk to you and sign autographs and sign pictures, and, you know, they're just, you know, they're a bunch of really nice guys. And there's a few girls coming up in the world too, so.
Oh, good. That's awesome. And maybe I'll catch one out there. So with that said, like during a normal day, like what's a typical day for him? Like, you know, is there certain times where he's really like, I know there's so many different situations with LGS too. Like if it's really hot, my brother, like he's not himself. He doesn't feel good, even if he's in AC. Or, you know, in different situations, like his equilibrium now is so bad that he can't walk unless he's like grabbed by his armpits or by the one of those waistbands they have. I forget what.
Yeah, like a gait belt.
Yes. Yeah. So
it honestly, Brian's life varies. So right now, like this is good, Brian. We're with it. We're alert. We can communicate. We can do, you know, whatever. But in a matter of 2 seconds, he may be completely not with us and just sit here and stare at the wall. So it's really hard to plan and do anything. Go to the grocery store. You know, it kind of is like, you know what, today we're having a good day, we're gonna go to Walmart. Or you know what, today's not a good day, so we're just gonna hang out with the house all day. I'm fortunate.
Connie.
I'm fortunate that most of Brian's seizures are while he's sleeping.
I'm
fortunate that doesn't have a huge impact on his day, other than, he's often really tired and worn out because he didn't sleep at all at night. I'm exhausted during the day because I don't sleep at night because he has seizures. If he's not having seizures, he's up every like hour and a half, like rearranging the closet.
Tony!
Hey. Hi.
And then I would say probably since April, though, we've had this new seizure type that started. All right, hold on, I'm talking. I know, hold on, I'm talking. And it can last anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 3 or 4 hours. And he's just not at all with it.
Tony!
You have to wait till I'm done.
Tony?
Yeah. And his eyes just sit there and roll back in his head, and he can't walk and really communicate. And that's just it really hampers life because when it first started happening, I'm like, oh, we'll just still do all the things that we've done. I do have like a stroller wheelchair type thing to help get him around when he's having a bad day like that. And I would take him and he would just lay there for like 2 hours. We were at a race one night and he just laid on the bleachers for 2.5 hours. And I kind of said, forget it. Like if he's not having a good day, like we're just gonna stay home and chill. But it can, like I said, it can vary from a few minutes to 3 or 4 hours to basically the whole day is lost. So it's just
absolutely
so crazy. And then there's all the side effects from all the different meds he's on. He's currently taking 5 anti-seizure meds, and we still have daily and nightly seizures. And so it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's what you said. Ridiculous.
Exactly.
Tony. His name's Matt.
Nah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I can totally agree with you just because, when I was living at home, there's so many different situations, like you said, you could have a good day, you could have a good minute, and then like 10 minutes later, there's a drop seizure that happens, or there's a seizure that, it goes on all night, and then my brother was in the ICU twice in the past 2 or 3 years, and it's the worst thing. You're holding your brother's hand and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to expect next. And this is the stuff that people who aren't in this community, such as you or I wish would have a light or have something that they're aware that this happens. This is everyday life for us. This isn't shut the mood off. It's more along the lines of, we are coming together like right now to raise awareness for this. And, it's not all about sports. It's about what comes with it, with family. And that's what I treat my podcast as. If you join my podcast, your family, and especially you two. I mean, that's like a buddy to me now. So, it's an honor to be with both of you for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like most people, like their experience with epilepsy is like, oh, well, when my kid was 2, they had a febrile seizure and it was horrendously scary. But my child's now 52 and hasn't had one since then, Or people are like, oh, well, have you tried this medicine or have you done this? Like, just go find a new doctor. He'll get better. And I'm like, no, like there are some kids that get better. There are some kids that have, a huge reduction in seizures. Some of them are even seizure free for months or weeks or years. Like, right. Oops. What'd you do? Nothing.
Tony!
I know. Tony! If we can go 4 or 5 hours without a seizure, like that's a win for me. It's chronic, daily, debilitating seizures.
Yes.
And then
in
addition to the seizures, there's the physical issues, the unsteady gait, the falling, the broken arms.
Yes. Yep.
The all that. And then there's the Brian, I need you to stop.
I'm done.
Okay, in a minute. Then there's the whole cognitive and behavior issues. Now, I'm very fortunate that Brian doesn't have aggressive behaviors. He doesn't really have bad behaviors. He's a 17-year-old that functions like a 3 or 4-year-old. So just this constant redirection, like, oh, mom's doing something, I want to be the center of attention, let me talk about it. But that's also what makes him great.
Yeah, exactly.
He loves people. He wants to talk to everyone. He wants to go and play and do this and do that. You know, there's just, it's their life. Our life is so much more than just seizures. It's, you know, teaching them to communicate. You know, whenever I met Brian, he knew about 20 words and 15 of those were cuss words. Like, the kid didn't know how to speak. He didn't know a chair was a chair. He didn't know what a pencil was called. He didn't know to say, I want that paper. You know, whereas now I'm like, I maybe taught you to talk a little too well.
Well, that's the thing too, is that my brother's in a day program, so probably till 8 to 3, 8 to 2. He's usually in the day program, and he says, you know, like you said, there's a vocabulary, there's the, you know, the cussing a little bit, but there's also, I want to watch Top Gun. I've seen Top Gun probably about the Guinness World Record times of like 30,000. It's crazy, you know, but you know, he has life skills a little bit, but again, like you said, there, you know, it's repetitive stuff all the time. Like, I want my daddy, and I think it's just because of, you know, from the situation I told you about earlier, was my father was the first one to see him have a seizure at 4 years old. So I just think he never recovered from that situation. And, you know, I mean, we've seen every seizure in existence. I mean,
Right.
You know, and sometimes there's other stuff that nobody knows, like, you know, being on a plane, and, you know, normally us like me and you could wait to go to the bathroom, but sometimes they gotta go, like, and
Right.
it's just like, well, you're not moving, I'm going. So there's certain stuff like that people just don't realize, and, you know, don't appreciate. So, you know, it's great that, you know, we're making this known, and we're making it so, you know, people can realize that talking like this is a good thing and make awareness. So
Right.
so as I heard, like, so he joined a bunch of different things like basketball and stuff like that. How's it been like with activities like that?
Yeah, so right after Brian came to live with me, the first thing I did was sign him up for Special Olympics. And so we live in Washington County, Indiana. So we're just north of Louisville. But Washington County Special Olympics does a phenomenal job. So the kids play sports year round. He just finished his state track meet like the 1st of June. And so we're getting ready to start corn toss or cornhole, which is the next sport that they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the meantime, they have walking clubs. So it's basically just to help kids. Well, not kids. Most of them are adults. Brian's one of the youngest participants in Washington County. So most of them are adults. Some of them are old enough to be my dad and beyond. But just, you know, keeping people with disabilities active and trying to make sure that they stay fit and healthy and not just sit on the couch and watch YouTube for hours, because that's what they like to do. And I mean, I like to do it too, so I can't say I blame them. But anyway, so then we do walking club 2 nights a week. We do, so we just finished track. We start cornhole. And then there is basketball and bowling, and then we go back into track. So we usually spend like 3 or 4 months on every sport. Then there's always like a regional or even a statewide tournament that all the athletes go to, and they get to participate and, you know, strut their stuff and win medals. And
my goodness, he's more athletic than me.
Yeah. So whenever I first met him, he could not walk. He didn't have leg braces or anything. He shuffled around like an old man, like worn out, like the outsides of his shoes were just full.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like this, I could tell like from right after I met, I'm like, this kid has a lot of potential. Like, no one's just invested their time and energy in him. And so we worked really hard. We started physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, music therapy. we went and walked every day until the kid couldn't walk anymore, which when we started, it was like 20 yards. And he was like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired. But now he can run. And for the longest time he would run and be like, oh, I'll catch him, whatever. And now I'm like, it takes everything I have to catch him. And sometimes I throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know, just anything that I could think of to build his strength. We have a mini trampoline in the house. We have a regular trampoline outside, just things to get him active and build his strength, because that's really what's going to be important. Because as, you know, life goes on and the seizures continue and it really starts to wear and tear on his body, like, he's going to lose the ability to walk.
I unfortunately can tell you that, you know,
and so
it happens.
Yeah,
and in my brother's part, it happened.
Yeah, we're trying to stay super active to push that off as long as we can. Like, you know, I'm gonna delay the inevitable until I can't delay it any longer.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
You know, sports has been amazing for him, and you know, he gets to spend time with people that are just like Brian cognitively and don't think of Brian as odd or weird or different. And they're just like, oh, hey, buddy, come on, let's go. And it's just, it's great.
That is great, because that was always something that it was personal to me, you know. What, you know, you got a couple people that he was in a wheelchair, and he's not a child, he's not a toddler or a child. He's, you know, my brother's older. So it's like you get the stares and stuff and you're kind of like, well, can you, like, you want to say like, stop staring. And then at the same time, when you get older, it's like, you know, like me and my brother and my family just did an epilepsy walk in May. So it's good to see like that community brace together, and at the same time have it to where, you know, other like, you know, my mother's friends, my other friends, my friends from elementary school, it actually just happened. I've seen them somewhere and they said, how's your brother doing? And it's like, it makes me feel so much better that like a person who I haven't seen since elementary school, high school says and then it's like, it's overpowering, like, appreciation for these people to do that. And I'm sure around your I would call it a community, your family and friends and everything. Brian is the same way, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, it's amazing how supportive and caring, concerns, you know, everyone is. I think my greatest, you know, appreciation post, and it's a mystery person. So Brian was in the hospital for 31 consecutive days. And when we came home, there were like balloons and signs all on my driveway and on my house. Like, someone came and decorated my house to say, welcome home, Brian. But it was in the midst of COVID, so I'm glad they weren't here. Because, you know, we had been in and out of the hospital so much. But, you know, just that someone, you know, saw my post like, yay, we get to come home tomorrow, and, you know, came out here and decorated my house. You know, it's just little things like that that really mean a lot to people that, you know, have a kid that's in and out of the hospital or health issues or whatever, you know.
Exactly. Yep.
It was cool.
Yeah, that sounds like unbelievable. And, you know, like when my brother was in the ICU before COVID happened, you know, everybody wants to come in. I mean, I had people driving from the top part of the state down to try and go see my brother. And it didn't happen at the time because, you know, it was only family. But like, when, you know, that's the hard stuff you see. You know, it's just stuff that people don't realize how good they have it sometimes. And right. I'm glad in your community and my little community that it's the same. And my brother loves some sports, you know, like hockey's been big in our family. So like he likes the Bruins, and like, you know, like my father's a big Yankees fan, and, you know, all we have is the Red Sox here in Massachusetts. So my dad originated it's the Skunks are playing. And then like, so like my brother would go, oh, the skunk Red Sox. And it would just be so funny. Like, you know, but I I just wanted to go back to you with the medicines and stuff. So how many medicines did you say? You said
5.
like 5, yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's like the same with us is like 5, I think it's like 6 and then a couple liquid ones too. And then, crush them up and mix them with orange juice because he doesn't like medicine whatsoever.
Right.
But like you said, it's so hard to find that balance medication to make it okay. And I don't like people that, kind of know me in the beginning and they're like, well, there's marijuana for that now. And then there's this medicine. It's like, if you only knew what it really is about.
Right.
LGS is a bit more severe.
Yeah. So there's an FDA approved CBD medicine. It came out a couple years ago. And I was super excited because of course the drug trials had really good data. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be great. Well, and of course, like in true LGS nature, we started this CBD drug that's supposed to be great for seizures. It made Brian's seizures 10 times worse.
Wow. Yeah.
And, and with all these meds, because they're so strong and powerful and they mess, with your blood levels and stuff, you can't just stop it. You have to slowly wean down.
You have to wean down. Yep.
And we spent, we went like 2 months without having a tonic-clonic or a grand mal seizure, which was really good. But I'm like, all these other seizures are bad. Like, let's make it better. Well, instead, then we had tonic-clonics for like 8 nights in a row until we could then get the meds out of his system and get it lowered and get off of it. And that's not the only drug that's happened. In 3 years, we've tried 3 different drugs.
Mm-hmm.
That all cause more seizures. And that's what makes it so hard is no 2 kids are the same.
No, not at all. Nope.
There's a huge LGS community on Facebook. And I mean, there's thousands of members right now. But people are always like, I don't know what to do. Like, what meds works? Well, there'll be 400 answers on the post and no one's on the same med combination.
Yeah, no, nope, not at all.
There's, it's not like a one size fits all. It's I don't know what's going to work for your kid. And all we can do is try. And it's either going to work, it's not going to work, and things are going to be awful until you can get off of it. It's like, it's a 50-50 chance every time you try a new med.
Right. And, there's been a time where they've raised up the dosage to 5 milligrams. And my brother sometimes can have the aggressive side, like swearing, yelling, not sleeping. So when that happens, he's groggy, he seizes, and it's just crazy. Like, a couple of milligrams will get that to that way. And then he calms down but again, like you said, he has to wean off the drug and he's already mad anyway. So it's like, then
right.
It's like 4 or 5 more days to get cut off from it, or a week. So.
Right. And then when these kiddos aren't sleeping, no one else in the house is sleeping.
No.
If we're not on our A game, behaviors are 10 times worse because we're grumpy, and then we make the kids grumpy. And it's this horrible, never ending downward spiral that thankfully, after about 2 or 3 weeks, you finally get over the hump and everything levels back out. But it's brutal during that time.
So I have to tell you, like, honestly, how is it like going with, having the dogs, being ambassador of LGS and, joining to be LGS and, the sports and stuff? Like, how do you manage all that into one thing? Because I know taking care of dogs is crazy. I have one and I can't stand her sometimes.
So, it's crazy. So back whenever I was in high school, which was a lot longer than I would like to admit, I played multiple sports every season and travel sports, and I raced on the weekends and did this and that. So like my life has always been controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I graduated college, then I worked like 1 year. I had like 7 W-2s I had to file. So I always had to like juggle work schedule.
Oh my God.
So whenever I decided to be Brian's mom, I went down to one job and I was like, oh my gosh, like I literally go to work and come home and there's like nothing else to do. Now this kid kept me ungodly busy. Because whenever I first met him, he couldn't entertain himself. And now right now he's sitting here folding and unfolding like a mat that you would like take to the beach. That's what he's doing right now. But he can at least entertain himself. And you know, I just, everything, if it doesn't go in my calendar on my phone, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like you sent me that reminder and I was like, oh, thank God. And then I looked, I'm like, oh no, my alarm's going off in 2 minutes. It'll be okay. You know, I have an alarm set for his meds. He gets meds 3 times a day. The alarm goes off. When the alarm goes off, it's med time. Because if not, I mean, there's just so much. And if we miss 1 dose of meds, life's screwed up for at least a week. And, you know, so I just, everything goes in my calendar and we plan ahead and there's no like, oh, tomorrow we're doing this, but I do have a week off of work. So, and I have nothing planned and my boss is so awesome. She gave me a couple bonus days off. So I'm like, I literally have like nothing. Like I can do laundry and, you know, pull some weeds and live the life.
Small things.
Right.
And then, so what got you into the article that you got into?
So the guy that wrote the article, Pete Swanson, he's been writing sports articles ever since I've been alive. So like he wrote articles about me when I was in high school, but he travels with the racing series and writes some of their articles. And we were just talking about Brian one night and he was like, well, have a safe trip. Cause, the track we're at's like 2.5 hours from my house. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going home. We're doing a fundraiser. And he was like, for what? And and then I just told him about my son. And then he called me the next day and said, hey, I would really like to do an article. I think that that's really good to spread the word in the community. And I was like, absolutely. Like, you know, I want to get the word out about, not just about Brian, but you know, there's kids in every state and probably almost every county in the United States that has LGS. Some of them, they don't know that's what it is yet because, you know, they're going to a local neurologist and not some big epilepsy clinic, you know, that really does a lot of the research to find the why. And that's the other thing. A lot of times it takes parents being like adamant, like, no, like this is what's happening. But, you know, just to get the word out that, you know, there's kids and adults and families that really struggle because their kids are so unhealthy, for a lack of better terms.
Right.
You know, daily seizures is not good on anyone's body.
It's just sometimes I don't know how many times I can honestly say that I've cried because I've seen it. I've been to the hospitals. And it's something I would never wish on anybody. And I especially wouldn't wish it on my brother who, you know, all he did was sleep for 2 days in a hospital and he comes back and he's okay. But it's like, oh my God, like this is the strongest person I've ever known.
Right.
Just coming out of nowhere and just, it's like you had 8 seizures 2 days ago, straight out heavy seizures, 2 minutes apiece, you know, biting tongue, biting lip, bleeding everywhere, falling everywhere. And then to come out of that and you're fine again it's like motivating. It makes you appreciate having my brother in my life and, you know, having the appreciation for 30 years to have him in my life, you know.
It's, you know, I mean, he really, and I've met a few other kids with LGS and there's a lot of parents that I've met virtually, but you know, all these kids have hearts of gold.
They do.
Like
they do.
They're amazing, resilient, strong human beings, regardless of what physical disabilities they have and what cognitive issues there are. Like there's so much fight, you know, they have to put up a fight to get up day in and day out after seizing all night and still be able to, you know, enjoy life.
Just the toughest people I've ever met. Yeah. And you know, this is something I've wanted to do since I was in high school. And you know, the internet isn't like it is now. There was no Zoom, there was no Facebook, there may be a MySpace, but but now it's so widespread that like I discussed my story with you, you discussed your story with me. And, I told you, I was like, my dream in all of this is to raise awareness because we, again, like you said, we all thought it was epilepsy, but
Right.
all with all due, it was LGS the whole time. And it wasn't as, I don't want to say popularized, but it wasn't known to be that syndrome. It was more everybody had epilepsy pretty much. And it's just, this has been my goal since I've, had a podcast or anything, just at one point make awareness of this stuff and, share my story and, I want to share, my whole goal is to share these experiences with upcoming parents or, people that are struggling to deal with things like this. And I don't consider it dealing, but some do.
Quit.
It's okay. My other special guest is here.
Say hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
His
I
name's
love
Matt.
that shirt. You're a hat person too, just like me.
Oh my goodness, always. He has super cute curly hair that I never get to fix because he insists on wearing a hat. Yeah, it's not curly.
Oh, look at that hair.
But yeah, the internet and social media can be awful, and there's been times that I'm so over this. But it can be used for good to, bring families together, especially like during COVID, because no one could get out. We all have these medically complex individuals that we care for, and them getting COVID would be awful. So it brought people from all over the world together. There's a man from Australia that's a part of the group that posts, and it he adopted his son at 2 and he's now in his 30s. But just to hear everyone's stories and know that there's people that literally live a very similar life to you, when there's not anyone in your neighborhood that lives a life like this.
No.
Co-workers, friends, family, they know that Brian has seizures all the time and that like life's rough, but I feel like until you've had to live this life day in and day out, like you don't understand. And the other thing that I feel that I'm fortunate, because I adopted Brian. I knew what Brian's life was like prior to me becoming his mother. So I feel like I have a very different vantage point than people whose biological children has some sort of brain injury or chromosome issue or falls into that unknown, because that's the other thing. They don't know what causes this.
No.
And it's really hard, because the parents blame themselves and want to, say like, well, I failed as a parent or I did something that caused this. No, it happens. But it's still hard, but finding people, that can be part of your tribe that know and understand what this is like, I think it has been amazing.
And I totally, like, that's the thing too, is, one of the most rewarding things was, like I told you, my brother, it doesn't do good in the heat. And I got married in New Orleans, Louisiana. So it was pretty hot, but
probably August too, right?
July.
Even better.
July 7th. So when I did get married there, my brother came down and we were at our venue, and he came and
Hold on.
It was like amazing. He knew everything that was going on. He knew it was a day that was for me. And like it was extremely humble, and like I kind of cried for that too. So, it's the small things in life that you appreciate, that, like you said, nobody living with that. And I, I was, after my wedding, I was a little bit, out there,
Right.
having a celebration. But, I made a promise to my mother that he would never go into a group home, group facility, anything like that. He always would be home. And,
Right.
that's a goal we've all had. And, we've done extremely well with that. Now, as of right now, I haven't lived with him for a long time because I'm married and my parents still take care of him. But if they needed me anytime, I would rush over there and go.
Right.
But, this is where I'd like to get involved with, LGS and spread the word through here. And, I know the foundation is growing and people like you are helping it grow. So I respect that. And I'm really glad I found this article because...
Right. Well, hey, how did you find it? Because I feel like geographically we're not all that close, and I don't have friends up in that area. I was going to ask you that.
So, I actually just typed in LGS, like Lennox, the whole typing of it, and then I wrote sports. So then when I got that, they sent me to the Princeton Daily Clarion. So
yeah,
I looked and I saw you and I saw Brian, and I was looking and I said all the similarities of my connection with my brother and stuff. I mean, you at a later time, but me in an earlier time. Like I was like, This is it. And like you talking to me now is like this is what sometimes life is with this LGS syndrome.
Yeah.
We don't like it in particular, but we appreciate life with the person who has it.
Oh, absolutely.
So the awareness I'd like to have more.
Along the way, and
I don't know what happened there.
But it was recording. But I'll share anything about our story with anyone, that I can that wants to listen. I could talk for days about, the ups and downs of LGS and the ups and downs of, fostering and adopting a child and the ups and downs of life in general, But yeah, it's great, to meet and chat with somebody who, has lived this life and understands and wants to go out of their way, to help spread the word and awareness, for kids like your brother and my child that, just live this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to say a horrible life because he has a great life, but he doesn't know anything other than the life he's always lived. Whereas, to you and I that lead, typical lives, like poor kid, that's exhausting. But for him, it's life, and we just make it the best that we can.
We do.
And hopefully in the near future we can get things better.
I hope so. Yeah, and no more hospital visits for either of them, for either my brother or Brian.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been probably 4 months since we've been hospitalized, so I feel like we're in a really good stretch, and that's the problem. You get in a really good stretch, and once you're like, yeah, things are great, then it all falls apart just to make sure you don't get too big of an ego.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Tayla, I am honored that you came on the show, and you are always welcome on my show. I'll probably be the one inviting you and seeing how he's doing with every dirt track in Indiana, or probably some other tracks in Indiana.
All right. Yeah, we are. Indiana Sprint Week is next week.
Mm-hmm.
It starts next week. And so I have that week off, and we pack up my motorhome and we go and hit all the races over the week and a half. So that's Beautiful. My vacation. Yeah, it's going to be great. So you'll have to check in after that, and we'll see how many autographs you got.
Oh, I'm jealous. Stop. Well, again, Tayla, thank you. And Brian, where are you?
You tell him bye?
Bye, bud. Thank you for being on the show.
No, his name's Matt. Say bye, Matt.
Oh, thank you so much.
You tell him peace out? You gonna tell him peace out?
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tayla.
Bye.
Bye.
What's up? We the BMG Boys, and thank you for listening.
Please follow his Facebook page and subscribe to his podcast at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Let's go.
We shall know.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.